Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Almost Martha. And today it's kind of well, it was nice earlier, it was snowing, it was so pretty, and now it's just kind of melty and gloppy, and so we just need a little cheering up. And I thought some cookies would do that. I was going to make thumbprint cookies, but I didn't have the right jam. So I kind of searched around to see what I had, and I remembered I've got this great recipe for chewy sugar cookies that's really good. And that would be really good on a day like today. So stay with me as we make some chewy sugar cookies on kind of a snowy, wintry New York day. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 1.5 cups sugar. We're going to put it in our bowl. And I have about 2 ounces of cream cheese, which I've put in small chunks, just cut it up to where it's not just one big hunk of cream cheese. We're going to sort of dot this over the sugar. And I have 6 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. So I've melted it. It's still just a tiny bit warm. And now I'm going to pour that over my mixture. And I'm going to stir to combine. And it won't get rid of all of the, cream cheese, won't be all perfectly blended in, but it can get kind of close. You just got to put your arm into it a little bit. We're going to make this all together. Adding warm butter is going to help that cream cheese get a little softer. And there you go. Looks pretty good. But I still see streaks of my cream cheese. That's perfectly fine. It's all going to get worked out in the end. Okay. Now I'm going to add my oil, and I have about a third of a cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to pour that right in. And then I'm going to whisk again to get that all incorporated. Very nice. Okay. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of milk. I'm going to use whole milk. That's really all we keep in the house. It's whole milk. So 1 tablespoon of whole milk and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Y'all know I like vanilla, so we're going to be adding, that's 1, that's about 2. Now we're just going to add a touch more. And this is that fabulous vanilla bean paste, which really adds such a great flavor of vanilla. There's some flecks of the vanilla bean in there. And when you're making a cookie as simple as a sugar cookie, you really want those flavors to shine through. So if you can find vanilla bean paste in your supermarket, I would stock up on it because it's such a great thing. Okay. Okay. Pretty good. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add our egg here for all the wet ingredients. I never trust myself. I always want that egg to go along, in something alongside the dish. I don't want to crack it immediately in here, because if I make a mistake and there's some shell that gets in there, it's hard to kind of fish it out in a lot of these things. So break that egg, put that right in, incorporate that. Okay, now you have a very wet mixture. And to this, we're going to add our flour. Now for the flour, this called for baking soda and baking powder both, which isn't always the case. So I think it was, yeah, half a teaspoon of baking soda, a full teaspoon of baking powder, and then half a teaspoon of salt. And I put it all together. I took a knife and I mixed it all up. So all of those have been easily incorporated. And now I'm just going to add my flour a little bit at a time. And this, most of the time I'm using a mixer, I'm using a food processor, but some of these just require some good old hand stirring. That's it. It's a very simple cookie, but when done right, the simple cookies are the best cookies. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm just going to put the rest of that flour right in there. And let's get this all incorporated. And we've got that cream cheese in there. So this is going to be a bit of a softer cookie dough. So as we work with it, we'll just have to be careful because it's not a firm, stiff dough. It's going to be a little softer. It's got, that vegetable oil in it too. So that's going to make it a little softer. Different fats bring different things to the dish, right? I've often said up here in the north, their biscuits are totally different from how we have them in the south, and a lot of it has to do with the fat that they use. So one day we're going to be making biscuits on here. You guys, my mother, my mom, made the best biscuits ever, and there was no butter in them, none. The secret is vegetable shortening, like a Crisco, which makes those biscuits nice and soft and light and beautiful. So we're going to be doing that one day. But right now I've got everything incorporated in here, and now we're going to start working with the dough. So I'm just going to clear my workspace and we'll start from there. Okay, our dough is ready. So I am going to just have a soup spoon. I'm going to take out a nice piece. I'm afraid of how sweet. I don't want these sugar cookies to be outrageously sweet. So I'm not rolling the whole cookie in sugar. I'm going to do something with the top, however. So let me just kind of get some little balls here using my soup spoon. Leaving some nice little grease marks on my hands from the oil and the melted butter. And you should get about 24 little round balls. If you're sort of like thinking about it as 2 tablespoons each for each ball. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger, whatever floats your boat. You could make one gigantic cookie if you wanted to. These will spread, so just be aware of that as you're putting them on your cookie sheet. They are going to get a little bigger. So you got to give them a little room, especially for the first pan. I just kind of want to see, how much they spread. Usually it's pretty consistent, but you never know. So just going to give them some room. And now I'm just going to pat these down, make a kind of a cookie shape here, flatten them down. You could use the bottom of a glass. I'm just going to use the soup spoon because it's right here and handy. Flatten it out. Now I'm going to add something special to the top. My hands are very greasy. You'll see it's lots of shortening and butter here. I am going to use what's known as sparkling sugar. Sparkling sugar are larger sugar crystals. They have a little bit more of a visual impact, and they'll look really good on these cookies. once they all get baked and brought out of the oven. Sparkling sugar can be found. You can buy it in the grocery store. You can buy it in, you can buy it in Michael's probably. Anything that sells for cake decorating needs, that kind of a thing. But it's really a pretty sugar. And since you're doing sugar cookies, you might as well have some pretty sugar on top. These are larger sugar crystals, so that's one reason why I didn't want to roll my cookies in sugar. There'll be enough sugar on the top. And it will be a very pretty sugar. Okay, so this is our first batch. I'll put it in and we'll see how it does. Okay, so while I have my first batch in the oven, I have the oven set to 350 degrees. These are going to bake anywhere from 11 to 13 minutes. But at the 7-minute point, we want to turn those cookies in the oven to make sure they get a nice, nice rotation. So if you have an Alexa or a Siri or some help like that, just set 2 timers, one for 7 minutes and one, I just sort of split the difference and I said 12 minutes between 11 and 13. And now I'm just getting ready for my second pan of cookies. It doesn't want you to crowd your oven, so it says to cook these one pan at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I also could use my second oven. Here's an idea. And I'll get it done even faster, even faster. And we can go and sit down at the fire. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. Okay, I'm just going to keep working here. So I'll check in with you when the first batch is done. Well, the final pan just came out of the oven. And I got to tell you, the baking was very consistent. So I set that 5-minute timer on the smaller cookies and made it more, I'm sorry, on the large cookies, it was a 7-minute timer. On the smaller cookies, it was 5 minutes. And then I finished off at either 12 minutes or 11 minutes in total, depending upon the size of the cookie. And I think it worked really, really well because you'll see there's a beautiful browning around the side of the cookie, but it still looks kind of nice and light in the center. So these are supposed to be chewy sugar cookies. So I'm going to test one out. And yeah, I'm taking a big one. Yeah, yes, I am. So I'm going to, oh yeah, I think that's going to work just fine. That really has a nice crispy around the outside, tender in the center, totally chewy. Perfectly chewy sugar cookie. Oh, this is really good. So I'm going to save the rest of this cookie. I'm going to have it later tonight. Yeah. Oh, it's really good. I really like that. That little bit of cream cheese really works well in there. So lots of cookies for you to share and enjoy. And I hope you make it. I hope you try it because it really is super easy. And I have to say, I know there's lots of complicated recipes out there and lots of, big things that we make. But sometimes the best things are the simplest things. And if you make them on repeat, your family's going to make that one of their very favorites. And this is really good. And I think it's also going to keep really well. That chewiness is going to stay with it. So these will be good for several days. Not that they'll last that long. So if I had to put a scale on this, like from hard to easy, I would say so easy, even Mark could make it. He won't, but he could because it's very easy. So if you want this recipe, just go to almost-martha.com and all the recipes that I make are there along with links to all of the videos. So if there's something that you want to make, you can go find it on my website. You can download it. You can copy it, whatever you want to do. So I hope you do it. Hope you enjoy it, especially if it's a sluggish winter day. Just dive in your pantry and see what you have on hand so you can make some nice cookies for your family. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Go visit the website. Bye, Mom. I'll see you later. Maybe I'll have another little piece. I'll save the rest.